Okay guys, we're back working on the GTO after MosquitoCon, but now we're trying to get it ready for NNL East, where I hope to show the car with at least a few more additions or some or improvements. Now, I'm going to talk to you about all of the parts that I've been making recently for this car because if you've seen the picture of the engine compartment, it's just sad. I mean, there's nothing in there other than the engine floating around in the middle of nothingness. There's a little bit of detail on the firewall, which is actually not too bad, but there's nothing else in there. So I've got to try and come up with all sorts of greebles to make this engine compartment look at least somewhat interesting. So the first thing that I came up with was I made this fan shroud. As if you look in the engine compartment, let's remove the fan shroud. This is what you get from the kit. That's it. Well, you know, minus the spark plug wires, the fuel line that I have on the engine, and the Iceman Collections carburetor. Let's just remove the air cleaner. You can see that there. You get nothing else. I mean, that's it. That big open space there. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, even this front cover here behind the radiator I had to add because that was just an empty space there. So we got to do something with that. We can't just leave all that there. I mean, we got to greeble all that up.
By the way, greebly is a term of art. It was George Lucas's term for the little nernies that go on a ship.
So the first thing I did was I made this fan shroud, or at least something that kind of looks like a fan shroud. Is it accurate? No, not even a little bit. But once I painted black, you can see I added some details to the surface of it, so it's not just a flat piece of styrene. And it actually looks like something that could be something. That's how I like to explain it. That goes in there, and that's going to take away a lot of that empty space in front of the engine, which really didn't look right. Now that's going to sit here on top of the radiator, just like that. And you see that's already a vast improvement. Now, the next thing I made was this battery tray. Now that's going to fit. Let's just swing the car around here. In this big empty space here, because first of all, the kit tells you to put the battery in the wrong place. Let me put the instructions right here, and I'll show you where it tells me to put the battery, which really, that does not work for me, especially since Mr.mo's car has a battery on the opposite side of the firewall. Now, we have our battery tray made. Just a bunch of, if you watch the previous video, you see how I make this stuff by just cutting up styrene and gluing it, shaping it, carving it. So this is our battery tray here. I left it purposely looking a little rough, as usually most of the sheet metal parts that are in these engine compartments are not fully finished, smoothed out. They're just basically pieces of sheet metal, bent in the direction they're supposed to be. Bent how they're supposed to do their job, and that's about it. Nothing pretty. So that's going to sit right in there, kind of like that. And then our battery is going to sit right in, in there like that. It's kind of hard to do this with one hand while I'm holding the camera. Kind of like that. So already there we filled up a good portion of the engine compartment there. Now the next thing we did was make an ignition coil. Right here. And if you look at the picture of Mr.mo's car, he's got it mounted right here on the fender well. So that's gonna get glued down right there and have a wire running around the back heading toward the distributor. Don't know if I'll be able to get it in the distributor, but I will try. Now, the next thing we did was add our radiator hose, which is going to sit right here. Can't do that right now with one hand, but this is one reason why we have a gap here in the radiator, in the fan shroud, as the radiator hose is going to enter here into the radiator. And the reason we have another gap here is because we're going to be installing a radiator cap right here on this corner of the radiator, as it is in Mr. Mo's car. So it's kind of a homage to its engine compartment, as most of the items in there are going to be where they are in his car. Will they be exactly the same? No, because again, it's all handmade. Now here we've made the AC compressor. I'll show you his AC compressor right here. So I made a reasonable facsimile of it using a pulley from a Pontiac Fiero 4-cylinder as the AC compressor pulley. I wrapped a thin sheet of styrene around it so that we have our belt. And the body is made from styrene tubing, such as this here. Cut it. Where did I? Oops, fell under the car. I cut it, capped it on the ends, and we have our AC compressor. Once we paint it, put a decal on it, should look pretty much okay. We have our pulley going into it. And that is going to somehow sit right about here somewhere by the engine. And it's somewhere right around there. Somehow I'll make that fit, which is going to fill up this empty space right about here. Whoops, let me see if I can show you guys. Well, you get the idea. It's going to sit right about there, filling that up. And now the accumulator, or the receiver dryer, for it is going to sit right there on top of the compressor. And we'll have some bead wire to make the lines going between the two. So that's going to fill up this side here. So we're going to have something here. We're going to have something here, which is going to fill up the sides there. And I still have to run wiring through and see how I can get anything else done in here. So making this stuff is basically the same as I've shown on my other videos of making these styrene pieces. I really got to get a resin printer and learn how to resin print, because that would have been much easier. Don't know if it would have been more fun though, because I really enjoyed making these pieces. So all of these parts here are going into the engine compartment, increasing the parts count of a model that really had a sad parts count. Now, fortunately, I knocked the mirror off while I was installing all of that, so we're going to have to glue that back on. Again, just another component made out of styrene. So, parts count is going up higher and higher on this car. All right, so we're going to keep going with this. Alright guys, now I've just made a couple of more additions for the engine compartment, such as a coolant reservoir and a washer tank. Now what I'm going to go over right now is how to get a realistic look for these tanks to show fluid in them. I've already started with the washer tank, where I've added a little bit of a blue tint to the tank itself on the bottom there, just to show the fluid level. So I'm going to show you exactly how I did that, because you don't want a bright blue or a bright green or red, depending on what kind of coolant you're using. You don't want it to be bright, because when you look at your reservoirs, you can see a very, I want to call it a very muted color, actually, because you're looking through the thick white plastic of the reservoir itself, and there you can see the color of the fluid inside it. But you're not going to see it bright because you're looking through the white plastic. So the white plastic is actually diffusing the color as you're looking through it. So you don't want it to be really bright, which is why we have a very light coating of color on the tank itself. So now we're going to do that here. I'm going to show you exactly how I do that. Probably no big secret, but in case you guys have never done it, I think you might find this interesting. First thing I'm going to need is my Tamiya Clear Green, as this is a 1970 GTO, which used the ethyl glycol coolant, which is green. So that's what we're going to do. Next thing we're going to do is take our mixing cup, and then we're going to use our Mr.mo leveling thinner. Now, in order to make the color that we need, it has to be very, 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 very thin. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the Mr.mo leveling thinner. And now, I don't normally measure. I just kind of do it by eye. I'm going to take our leveling thinner, put it in our mixing cup here. And then we're just going to add to this just a drop of the clear green, because we want it to be very, very, very thin. So we're just going to take a drop of clear green, drop it into our thinner. Let's mix it up, because we need to tint the... But we also need the color to be dark enough that it's actually going to show on the tank. So I think we need one more drop of green. There we go. And that should darken our thinner enough. Yep, that's the color we're looking for right there.
Damn, I'm good!
Now, if you're familiar with automotive coolant, that's kind of exactly what it looks like. All right. So now we're going to put this in our airbrush, and we'll be right back with some spraying. All right, so now we have our mixed paint in our airbrush. We have our tank masked off. As you don't want to paint the entire tank green, you want to have, because the tanks are never filled all the way up to the top. They're called expansion tanks because the coolant has to expand in them. So there's always going to be a part of the tank that's empty toward the top, because that's going to allow for the expansion of the coolant as it gets hot. So let me turn the fan on here, and we're going to give it a little bit of a spray. Again, you're going to see I'm going to spray very, very lightly, as I just want to tint the bottom of the tank green. Alright guys, and there it is. We have a green tinted coolant bottle. As you can see, the green is very muted, and that's going to give the appearance that we're looking through the plastic to see the coolant. I think I got it looking just exactly the way I wanted. So now we're going to give that a chance to dry, and then we're going to move on to the final step in this. Alright guys, now we're just going to hit it with a matte coat to just kind of take a little bit of the shine off the Tamiya Clear. Alright guys, and there we go. We have our finished coolant tank, all painted, flat coated, and ready to be installed once we put the cap on it. Let's just hit our washer tank now. Alright guys, so here we have the result of all of that craziness we've been doing with the engine. All of the parts that I fabricated are in there. You can see the coolant reservoir, the washer tank. There's the AC compressor with the pulley and belt assembly. That actually I'm very happy with. I really like the way that came out, as all of that was fabricated by hand. We have our battery and our new battery tray. And we have this component here, which I'm going to assume is some sort of a cruise control device. I'm not really sure. First, I thought it was a coil, but it's not. We have our Miami Vice Daytona master cylinder assembly, and which really worked out really, really nicely there. And I'm really happy with the way the painting came out. The highlights with the different guy. I just really like the way that looks. Really gets me in the mood to do some more mecha stuff. But I think I'm happy with the engine compartment now. I've also added some decals from the old Jaguar kit, decals which I acquired a while back. Just some warning labels, and just to add a little more je ne sais quoi. I'm not really sure what that means, but it just sounds really French. And just thought I would add that there. I've also added some hoses. You have an AC receiver line. You have our upper radiator hose. And we have another hose, which I'm going to just say is a heater core hose. I just needed something to fill up the empty space on that side of the engine compartment. So yeah, it's not 100% accurate, but man, it looks so much cooler than it did if I had just built it the way the kit tells you to build it. So there we go, guys. That engine compartment is looking pretty snazzy now. Is it 100% accurate? No, not even close. But I do think that Mr.mo is going to be happy with all the extra added details, as opposed to having that big empty space there that the kit wanted you to leave. And we have our air cleaner with the twin snorkels. So, very cool. This just shows that even if you don't have a 3D printer, there's a lot you can do with just a couple pieces of sheet styrene and a hobby knife. And sometimes it's just kind of fun to create this stuff. I know I enjoy it, so that's why I do it. So, alright guys, that's going to be it for this video. We're done with the engine compartment, and the Mr.mo car is just about finished. So, on the next video, we're going to be jumping back on the Buddy Memorial build, because our STS decals finally came in, and I'm going to be looking really forward to putting those on the car. So it's going to be very, very cool. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one.